Hey, magical experimenters. I'm taking a break from DoorDash here. Um, I was getting some lunch, but I decided to make the break a little longer so I could do this video on Judgment and Release Part 3. So, yes, I'm on this theme, and I think it really, I'm sticking with this theme because the month is working with the Gavoric energy of Mars and the planetary energy of Mars. But it's relevant to the experiences I've had. So, last week, I ended up, I was on a trail walking around and this meth head ran up and punched me in the face. You can actually kind of see the scar, one of the scars still right there. And that wasn't fun. It was really triggering actually for a number of different reasons. I'm not going to really get into all that, but I mean, other than to say that I'm working through those triggers. But it was interesting because afterwards, I mean, I called the police. They caught him. Hopefully, he'll get some help. I really do hope to help him because he clearly needs it. But it really got me to thinking about, releasing judgment in relationship to something like that. Because here's this person who's an aggressor who came up and attacked me, and do I hold judgment on this person? I mean, on one hand, yes. I mean, I was pretty after I got over the initial shock and kind of started processing the triggers that came up as a result of that. I really also felt some anger toward this person, and at the same time, I mean, I'm recognizing like, okay, well, what can I do about it? Well, in my case, what I'm doing about it is I'm looking into just doing some self-defense. And, I have a friend of mine who's teaching me some stuff already, and I'm going to be learning more. So I'm happy about that. But it really illustrates to me how important it is to like recognize like when do we hold judgment and when do we release it? Because as a friend of mine pointed out the other day, there are times to hold judgment. There is a value in holding judgment. Judgment can be a magical act in and of itself. It's a way of defining the world around us. And I think there's some truth to that, So when we look at, this Gavoric energy of Mars and this concept of judgment, it's not just about releasing judgment. Sometimes it is about holding judgment. Sometimes it's about recognizing that the judgments we hold help us create good boundaries. And sometimes they don't create good boundaries. Sometimes we judge a situation incorrectly. I mean, case in point, I got into a conversation with a friend today, and really, I had made a judgment about a conversation that we had had that was incorrect, and instead of verifying it the way I really ought to have, and which I will do from now on, I didn't. I kind of held to that judgment, and it ended up leading to ultimately a minor misunderstanding, for which I'm grateful because that friend is awesome, and she was very understanding, especially in light of recent events, and so I really appreciate that. But it made me realize how, in that case, I was holding on to a judgment too that was based around my perception of events and my perception of what was communicated to me, and that sometimes it's good to actually stop and say to myself like, well, where is that judgment coming from? Why am I holding on to that judgment? Why am I perceiving things this way? And ought I verify or check in about that? Now, of course, we can't necessarily check in with everyone and everything, but I think when it comes to the people that are important to us, we should, because that helps us leads us to less misunderstanding. So I say use my mistake. In this case, my mistake being that, I held this judgment and kind of held this erroneous perception. Use that to your own advantage to recognize that sometimes when you have interactions with people that are important, people that you hold close to you in your heart, they have meaning to you, that you recognize too that because of that closeness, you can sometimes hold on to judgments in relationship to them that aren't necessarily accurate, and that it can be really important to pause and take a step back, get a little distance, and then verify or share your own perspective. And that's something that I'm working on getting better at myself. We're all works in progress. I definitely am a work in progress. So what can I say? But it really just made me reflect on that. I mean, how easy it is to hold judgments that are incorrect as well. Like there is a value in having in being able to hold a judgment. It can protect us. It can be a boundary. It can allow us to see things around us in a very specific light. But in that same vein, it can also restrain us and tunnel vision us because of that light. And so it's very important to recognize that. And right now, I'm working on Inner Alchemy of Wintering. I just finished writing Inner Alchemy of Internal Work, which will be coming out soon. And one of the books that I'm reading, or rather researching, you can kind of see it here, is When Things Fall Apart, which is really appropriate because like life does fall apart. And I want to read something to you guys because I think it's relevant from it. It's from chapter 13, Widening the Circle of Compassion. She says, to relate with others compassionately is a challenge. Really communicating to the heart and being there for someone else, our child, spouse, parent, client, patient, or the homeless woman on the street, means not shutting down on that person, which means, first of all, not shutting down on ourselves. This means allowing ourselves to feel what we feel and not pushing it away. It means accepting every aspect of ourselves, even the parts we don't like. To do this requires openness, which in Buddhism is sometimes called emptiness, not fixating or holding on to anything. Only in an open, non-judgmental space can we acknowledge what we are feeling. Only in an open space, when we're not all caught up on our own version of reality, can we see, hear, and feel who others really are, which allows us to be with them and communicate with them properly. You know, that really struck me. I read it last night, and I think it helped me have the conversation I had today with my friend, because I realized that I was holding on to a specific judgment, and that I might not be fully cognizant of everything going on, and that if I wanted to work things out, I had to be open and non-judgmental. And this is where I think it's important to realize that while judgments have power, and they can be powerful, and they can be something to cling on to and hold on to, and they create tension in our lives as a result, it's that very thing that can also stop us from fully becoming present with the people in our lives. I know some of you guys are saying, I mean, geez, Taylor, you're going all mystical philosopher on us here. So how does this really apply to magic? And here's where I think it applies to magic. When we're practicing our magical work, it's really important to acknowledge and recognize when we are holding on to limited perceptions that could get in the way of our magical work. You know, the best magical work that I find happens for me is the magical work where I do it and I hold space with it and I'm open to it, and I don't attach judgments or a lust for a result or fixations on it, but instead let it roll out there. And I find inevitably that in my life things just kind of fall into place really easily. More so now than they did when I would do magical work to get specific results and hold on to judgments, because then that I was feeling within and against the tension of the universe. And now I just kind of flow with it and work with it. And it's interesting because, like, case in point with like the assault, one of the things that occurred is that I talked to my friend who does self-defense, and he said, well, look, I'll teach you this stuff. He normally charges for it. He's going to teach me not for free. We're going to do an exchange of services. But I thought it was interesting because, like, that came into my life in exactly the way I needed it to, because I'm in this process of getting my life back together, and things are coming together nicely. I've got a new job I'm starting next week. I got my new book written, and I'm starting on another one. All these things are coming together effortlessly, really. But like, this is another example of that effortlessness, where this was something I needed. I'm going to take self-defense course, and I'm going to learn how to better protect myself in case something like this ever happens again. But it came together effortlessly for me, and it came together in a way where it's going to benefit both me and this friend of mine. And that's what I like. I like it when things come into place effortlessly, because when they do, when we relax into them and we truly allow them to be in our lives in a way that where there is no judgment, that's when we get rid of those tensions. And so I mean, I would share with you that yes, there is value in holding on to judgment sometimes, but don't hold on to it so much that you let it get in the way of truly being present with yourself and truly being present with the other people in your life. I mean, I kind of think that in reflecting on today's conversation with my friend, case in point, If I had not held on to the limited perspective that I had, we probably would have avoided this particular conversation altogether. But that's okay. I mean, sometimes you have to have those conversations because that's where you begin to figure out like the things that work or don't work. And you iron those things out and you get rid of those tensions, and then you're able to hopelessly effortlessly flow into presence with each other and with yourself. And I think that's important. So remember that. I mean, I know with magic there is this focus a lot of times on getting results and things like that. And there can be real power in holding on to specific things that you want in order to get those things to manifest. But there can also be power in learning to let go and letting it, like doing the work, letting it go, and letting it show up in your life in the way it's going to show up. And I know that that contrasts a lot to what you most of you hear out there or read on books on magic, but I think it's an alternative perspective we really need sometimes. Because when we hold on too much to what we want, we let it define us, and that creates the tensions in our lives that actually stop us from truly being receptive to what could be coming our way. All right, that's it for today. I got to get back to work, but thanks for watching and take care and have a great day, guys. Be good to yourselves.